Thank you for watching NMH at 1, where we highlight the news making headlines in the land of the brave and beyond, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. In the news today, Cyril's envoy breaks silence on Geingob meeting. Swapo-linked candidate booted out of ECN top job race. Okahandja-Whk road well within $3 billion Namibian budget. I am Diana Master. Stick around, we'll be right back with our midday news update. A 31-year-old man died in Geingob on Saturday night after he was stabbed once in the chest by another man during a quarrel over $10 Namibian won in a jackpot machine. The stabbing took place at a bar in the Epako location. The suspect, aged 36, has been arrested, police say. Remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the broadcast. Visual news coming up after the break.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the
150.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune in to Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
Getting into today's visual news clips, Namibia University of Science and Technology Vice-Chancellor Dr. Geingob welcomes the audience to the institution's first international conference of mathematical and statistical sciences.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mathematical and statistical sciences are undoubtedly the foundation for scientific investigation into various questions underpinning the understanding of our physical world. Mathematics is an indispensable foundation for various applied sciences, technology or engineering disciplines, including logic, which is essential for sound reasoning in law. Therefore, the world needs critical mass of mathematical expertise to provide optimal solutions to various problems through advanced mathematical modeling techniques. For example, we have the need for big data and advanced statistical analysis to fully monitor and predict extreme events in spheres as diverse as climate change and the global economy. The conference of this nature on mathematical and statistical sciences is of great importance. This is so because an event such as this allows us not only to showcase and celebrate various scientific results, but appreciate the application of mathematical and statistical sciences around the world. Director of Ceremonies, I am informed that this first international conference on mathematical and statistical sciences has drawn 103 papers from more than 200 collaborative authors from 12 different countries. I'll mention some of the countries. It includes Botswana, Congo, Ethiopia, Kenya, Namibia, Nigeria, India, Poland, Portugal, Russia, Senegal, and South Africa. This is truly an amazing and noteworthy feat. I do wish to applaud everyone involved, and based on the interest elicited so far, it was clearly a high time to host such an event. Research papers to be presented at this conference emanate from fields of applied mathematics and applied statistics. The variety of research papers, without a doubt, constitute clear evidence of the increasing need for scientific solutions to our multidimensional global challenges through mathematical and Statistical Sciences. Once again, I wish to acknowledge and express our appreciation and gratitude to all the speakers and presenters for their amazing responses to this major international conference on mathematical and statistical sciences. We look forward to sustaining this international collaborative engagements that are expected to be initiated at this event, and to welcome you all back to Namibia and NAS for the subsequent editions of this conference.
Getting into our next video, a comprehensive overview of the Walvis Bay municipality was done by David Ushona, the manager of solid waste and environmental management. As our cities and towns grow and evolve, they encounter a myriad of issues that demand attention and solutions, he said. Let's take a look.
Imagine, you see. So, and then I was forcing these things since I don't know when, with all these councillors. Can we not start this thing? And as I said, I was very lucky with this early thing to learn about strategic plans and all those things. So then it was like I was the steward, forcing this thing. And in any situation, you are guided by something. In church, they are guided by Bible or whatever. In whatever, you guys are guided by a certain act or law or code of conduct, something that say how you should, and where you are going. So our strategic plan, honestly, I would almost call it, I started it, I drove, I was the champion behind this whole thing. And even during the launch thing, you may have picked it up, Evelyn may have picked it up here. Because what happened is that I started the process, I got sick, and for 6 months nothing happened. And when I came back, I was thought, let's finish this thing. We were supposed to launch this thing in July 21, and we launched it in July 22. So, because of this strategic plan thing, I thought, honestly, and being the chairperson of this, I thought, I should honestly drive the thing further. The governance, I just typed this morning. I don't know what to do much. The whole here is, but the governance, the leadership in here, the management concerns, it's so dear, my God. And I was racing these things in and out, and to internal, to my superiors, to the councillors, they are.
The acting public prosecutor has cleared Ramaphosa, but concluded that the head of the Presidential Protection Service, who met President Geingob in 2022, has questions to answer. An update on the story follows in the newspaper review segment right after the break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Thank you for staying with NMH at 1. We now take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. Starting off, the Namibian Sun's front page reports that Okahandja-Whk, the man who met President Geingob at the height of the Phala manhunt in 2020, says he met the Namibian leader at State House over an unspecified national security matter. His version became public for the first time after a report into the saga was released on Friday by South Africa's acting public protector, Koleka, who cleared President Cyril Ramaphosa of any wrongdoing. Former South African spy boss Arthur Fraser, who lifted the lid on the Phala saga, alleged that Whk's secret trip to Namibia from 25 to 26 June 2020 in the company of Ramaphosa's head of security, Major General Wally Rood, was in pursuit of money believed to be in the region of 13 million Namibian dollars that was stolen at Ramaphosa's Phala farm earlier that year. On page 3, the Oshikoto region has witnessed a rise in teenage pregnancies, with 567 learners falling pregnant during the 2022 academic year, compared to 500 recorded teenage pregnancies during the previous year. In his recent State of the Region address, Oshikoto Governor Pinda Yandakolo said during the same period, the region also recorded 1,814 school dropouts. Yandakolo said there is an urgent need for parents and religious institutions to contribute their share to ensure learners remain in school even when they fall pregnant. Republican informs that two friends' regular breather walking sessions at a popular and busy sports ground in the capital resulted in a nightmare after a resident of Windhoek was brutally assaulted and stabbed with a knife. The man, who prefers to be anonymous, almost lost consciousness due to severe blood loss. The incident happened shortly after 7 p.m. on a weekday at the Doc Jabba sports field, where women, children and the elderly also go for a walk in the area in Olympia on a daily basis. On page 3, Namibia University of Science and Technology chairperson Florette Nakusera has refused to initiate an investigation into the conduct of Vice-Chancellor Errol Naumab and will hand the responsibility over to a new council, which takes over this month. Naumab faces allegations of misuse of public funds, nepotism, tribalism and abuse of power. Nakusera made her decision known to the Anti-Corruption Commission Director General Paulus Noah in a letter on Friday, which was the deadline set by ACC for the council to confirm whether or not it would initiate a probe into the allegations. Moving over, the Allgemeine Zeitung today leads with the Namibian Cancer Association officially opening the Community Health Clinic and Patient Support Center on Friday. The annual general report was also recently released, noting that the association made a loss of 262,718 Namibian dollars. On page 3, while the share swap between Namcor and Recon Africa remains in limbo, allegations are mounting that Recon Africa appears to be increasingly heading towards its financial end that activists and conservationists, as well as investment analysts, have been predicting for a long time. Stick around, we continue with the second half of our newspaper review segment after the break, starting with the Namibian newspaper.
To another exciting episode of Geingob Top. Jou is weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle moontlik kan byt.
Let's get into the second half of our newspaper review segment. The Namibian newspaper reports that Michael Shivikwa, who was disqualified on Friday from competing for the post of Chief Electoral and Referenda Officer of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, says he did not think it was necessary to declare that he served in Swapo's think tank 2 years ago. Shivikwa, who was initially among 5 men shortlisted for the top post at the ECN, said this while being interviewed for the ECN job on Friday. On page 3, the Bank of Namibia says the law that will enable the state to examine whether people's lifestyles match their earnings or salaries would assist Namibia in reducing financial crime. Minister of Justice Yvonne Dausab last week tabled the Prevention of Organised Crime Act Amendment Bill, which would see the state enforce laws facilitating lifestyle audits, including the recognition of unexplained wealth orders. On New Era's front page, the law enforcement authorities in the Zambezi region have expressed great concern about the high incidences of maize meal smuggling into the region from neighboring Zambia. Since 2004, Zambia has consistently cultivated more maize, the national staple food, than is consumed domestically. The Zambian government buys the majority of maize directly from farmers through the Food Reserve Agency. But despite self-sufficiency in food production, maize prices are volatile, which leads to the continuous smuggling of maize meals into neighboring countries such as Namibia and the Democratic Republic of Congo. On the paper's page 3, despite the many disruptions and delays caused by COVID-19 and late funding, the Roads Authority has managed to contain the cost of the Okahandja-Whk road project well within the budgeted 3 billion Namibian dollars. This was shared by Roads Authority CEO Conrad Lutombi during last Thursday's site visit to the multi-phase Okahandja-Whk road project, where he was joined by various Roads Authority senior officials as well as the contractors who provided an in-depth update on the state and progress of the road. MarketWatch reports that Canadian-based Gratomic Incorporated on Friday announced that commercial commissioning has begun at its Outcome graphite mine in Namibia to prepare the first 100 tons of product to send to customers for final inclusion into value-added applications. Now, small and large-scale coal producers will now be benefiting from an innovative world-class application. More on this story as we get into economic news after the break.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
In today's economic news, CMO International has just launched a brand new application for Namibian charcoal producers to further internationally supply chain options into the European and North American markets. Charcoal products certified according to standards set by the Forest Stewardship Council will benefit from using this application, the company said in a statement. Namibia will be the first country in the world to start trading on the Forest Trader Portal, FSCN. CMO International has an office in Oshwarongo under the leadership of the group's Namibian manager, Lilani Fourie. Fourie emphasized that FSC certification is the key component to ensure market access for Namibian producers. According to her, CMO Namibia is more than prepared to assist producers of charcoal with knowledgeable and hands-on assistance in reaching the untapped world market for their products. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators, proudly brought to you by Bank Fintech. Looking at exchange rates, 23 Namibian dollars and 86 cents buys you 1 British pound. Meanwhile, 1 Chinese yuan trades for 2 Namibian dollars and 6 cents. Looking at NSX stock closing prices, Capricorn Investment Group, First Rand Namibia and Letewa Holdings are all on an upturn. Meanwhile, Anirep and Namibia Asset Management, Namibia Breweries Limited all maintained. Looking at local index, it closed on an upturn of 1.13%, while overall index closed on a downturn of 1.27%. Looking at commodities, gold took a downturn of 0.24%, while platinum, copper, and Brent crude oil all surged at 0.07%, 0.55%, and 0.97% respectively. Sonko calls for demonstrations ahead of a key presidential address. We'll get into this story as we get into African news after the break.
Namibians are still safe.
Everywhere else, the Supreme Court said we are not going to rely on foreign judgments.
By all means, we try to not make journalists public figures, but at the end of the day, they are.
Very good evening. My name is Okahandja-Whk, your host.
With their Protestant offsprings.
But the implementation, like she's saying, is another thing.
We now extend to the rest of the continent, and later we'll bring you international news from the rest of the globe. Opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, who was sentenced to 2 years in prison a month ago, has called on the Senegalese people to go out in droves over the next few days on the eve of an address to the nation by President Macky Sall, who is due to say whether he will stand for a third term in the 2024 presidential election. We must come out to confront the regime of Macky Sall and say that it will not be up to him to choose the candidates who will face each other in the next presidential election, he declared on Sunday evening during an appearance on social networks. Sonko's conviction in a vice case, which currently makes him ineligible, sparked the most serious unrest in Senegal for years in early June, leaving 16 people dead, according to the authorities, 24 according to Amnesty International and 30 according to the opposition. Sonko has repeatedly claimed that the government is plotting to keep him out of the February 2024 presidential election, but the government denies this. He has been blocked by the security forces at his home in Dakar, sequestered, according to him, since the 28th of May. After the break, we get into our international news. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Active Kids, a daily TV show that sparks creativity, learning, and fun for young minds. With exciting activities and lessons, Active Kids inspires curiosity and a love for learning.
New face to the
15.
The perfect mix of play and education. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Active Kids on NTV every weekday at 10 o'clock and let the adventure begin.
In international news this afternoon, demonstrators briefly shut off access to a major Israeli seaport on Monday ahead of a planned mass convergence on the country's main airport as a half-year-long crisis over the government's judicial overhaul again builds up steam. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had doused some of the protests during compromise talks with the opposition, but they proved fruitless. He is now pursuing a legislative package he says is a scaled-back version of the overhaul, which previously plunged Israel into political turmoil and hurt its economy. As Netanyahu's religious nationalist coalition has a comfortable parliamentary majority, critics have been staging more street protests in an effort to halt changes they see as a threat to court independence. Scores of demonstrators, some holding Israeli flags and others beating drums, blocked the gate of the northern Haifa port for 1.5 hours. A port spokesperson said they had held up the entry of around 100 trucks and delayed the loading of cargo. Protest leaders called for a similar shutdown of Ben Gurion Airport, Israel's main international gateway, in the afternoon. That brings us to the end of our international news. Stay tuned as we get into local sports news after the break.
Welcome to What's Cooking, where culinary passion meets expert insights.
Somebody must really want to cook and want to cook good food.
Immerse yourself in the bustling world of professional kitchens as top chefs create mouth-watering dishes. Join us for in-depth interviews as our host explores the experiences and expertise of our guest chefs. Don't miss out. Tune in to What's Cooking on NTV every Friday at 2100 hours and let the culinary adventure begin.
To another exciting episode of Geingob. We bring jou lees die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik kan byt.
Starting off our local sports news, two-time world champion Yanni Muvesen of Namibia showed his class during the first 2 days of the Continental Championship. The 2023 African Regional Field Archery Championships, hosted at the Windhoek Archery Range at the Heya Game Lodge, 20 kilometers east of Windhoek, concluded yesterday. The 2023 African States Tournament, the Continental Championship of Lawn Bowls, was hosted in Windhoek at the Trans-Namibian Eros Bowling Clubs, where Namibia's men and women each took on Botswana, Kenya, South Africa, Zambia and Zimbabwe in the tournament. The Namibia Tennis Association's fourth senior tournament of the year concluded yesterday at Central Tennis Club in Olympia. The competition saw women's and men's doubles and singles contests over 3 days. We'll be right back with our international sports news. Stay tuned.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss my .NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
And welcome to the Sport Wrap Show.
I'm in conversation with Harry Simon, who just won the fight against the guy from Malawi. How is it?
En voor us Manchester United fans, a lot to be excited for. Met altijd voor doelstoppen geslagen. Dus
yeah. And are you happy about the overall success of the event?
Our number one spot is... Indian boxer Lucas Ndafoluma is itching to fight again.
It's the Winter Wrestling Club's tournament today. It's the Open Championship and all these cool sports. So today we're not that much. I think...
Adenebo has been on my radar for some time.
So, Safi skramskakel weer aangegeven.
Let's get into our international sports news. Defending champion Max Verstappen continued his relentless charge towards a third world title on Sunday when he claimed a record fourth Austrian Grand Prix victory in emphatic style. Novak Djokovic, fresh from claiming a record-breaking 23rd Grand Slam title, will be on the hunt for more history at SW19. He also has the opportunity to match Roger Federer for the most Wimbledon titles in 8. Pratham Nisanka's sublime unbeaten 101 propelled Sri Lanka to a place in this year's Cricket World Cup in India as the 1996 winners trounced host Zimbabwe by 9 wickets on Sunday. If you're just joining us, this is NMH 1 and we will get into the highlights from today's broadcast shortly after this break.
Good evening and welcome to Sunset News on the Hotel. Ebenhard Ripunda presented.
Services Minister Kalumbi Shangola delivered a powerful statement on behalf of the feasibility and implementation agreement for the Green Hydrogen.
Hi, good day. My name is Vinny.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
You're watching NMH 1. If you're just joining us, here are the news highlights. Opposition leader Ousmane Sonko, who was sentenced to 2 years in prison a month ago, has called on the Senegalese people to go out in droves over the next few days on the eve of an address to the nation by President Macky Sall. In international news, demonstrators briefly shut off access to a major Israeli seaport on Monday ahead of a planned mass convergence on the country's main airport as a half-year-long crisis over the government's judicial overhaul again builds up steam. In some local sports news, two-time world champion Jannie Muvesen of Namibia showed his class during the first 2 days of the Continental Championship. And those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with NMH 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa, and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports, and international headlines. It's goodbye from us in studio, and we do wish you a lovely Monday ahead.
To another exciting episode of Geingob. We bring jou latest weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik kan byt.